My apologies to my regular viewers for going off topic on this video, whilst technically I'm not actually off topic for those of you who know what these two blanks are for. But anyway, let us get this unboxed for you and we'll discuss why I bought it and what its features are. So here we have the machine, and before I do a walk around, I'd just like to sort of discuss why I bought it. I was actually online looking for some planer blades for my current planer thicknesser, which is not this brand, and this came up in my feed and I thought, bloody hell, that sounds cheap. Now my planer thicknesser I've had for many years, and I've gone through many blades. I've had blades resharpened, it's had new belts, and I think one of the bearings is possibly on its way out. So I kind of bought this as a prepping item. I don't intend using it yet, but I got a feeling mine is going to give up at some point, and while it's out of action, having a new bearing maybe, I've got a backup. So this is going to be stored in another shed until I need it, basically. So I didn't actually, anyway, 145 quid. Now the nearest planer thicknesser to that price would probably be the Titan from Screwfix. Now there are many variants of this planer out there, such as a Shepak, the Fox, Einhell, Clark, SIP, Lumberjack, and I think they're all kind of based on the same principle. Whether a lot of the components are interchangeable, I suspect they are. Maybe the chassis is all made by one company and then they put different casings on. I don't really know, but they all kind of look as though they operate in a similar way. Now, you know, so basically these are all fairly cheap. You know, you're looking at 190 for the Titan and maybe up to 400 for a Shepak. So they're kind of in that price range. So there's nothing really in between that and a 700 quid Metabo, which is the HC260. Now I can't really justify spending that for what I do, and the space it takes up. This takes up very little space in the workshop, whereas the Metabo is on a full table with wheels. It take up a lot more space in my small workshop, so this kind of size is ideal for me. Anyway, so that's really why I bought it. It does look as though the reason they're that price is because they've been discontinued, although I never ever saw them for sale prior to me looking for those blades. So whether they were available in Europe but not in the UK, I really don't know. But it sounds like they're on clearance for 145 quid delivered, which is an absolute bargain as far as I'm concerned. You know, don't expect professional quality from an item that's costing you 145 quid. You know, it ain't going to happen. But I'll go over some of that a bit later when we do the walk around. Right, let's have a closer look. Right, let's start with what was included. Now, I was quite surprised to see this, but the planer itself had these packaging braces to brace the beds. It had, you know, two on each side, so bracing to support the bed, which was pretty impressive. Has a slide over aluminium guard with this rather daft lever mechanism, which seems to operate pretty well. I don't know why that screw's there. Don't know. Mine didn't seem to come with any instructions, but not that it matters to me because I can work it out. So underneath is the fence, which we'll look at in a minute. That looks rather flimsy steel, and I think some of the reviews I read did say about that being pretty crappy, the fence on that. But yeah, you can. I'll put that on to show you in a minute, but you can put a plywood facing on it if it's not very good. Mine has got an aluminium fence, my planer thicknesser, but this actually seems better than mine. But anyway, so it's a 8-inch bed, 204mm, 1250 watt machine. Obviously the feed in that way, and you've got your cutter block there with 2 blades, which hopefully are in it. Yeah, I can see a blade there. Right, what else come with it? So you've got a dust extractor adapter if you want to put a smaller one on, but I must say, if you're using one of these machines, use a proper extractor, you know, with a big bore, because these machines do produce a lot of shavings. Obviously the extractor attachment to suck out the chippings, I'll show you how that goes in a minute, and the windy handle for winding the bed up and down, which obviously goes on that peg there to wind the bed up and down. And I could show you that now actually. There's the bed, and you'll see it raising and lowering. That's for doing the thicknessing. So that's about all that's covered, and I will be back in a second and I'll get the fence on. I thought I'd just show you how the fence attaches. Obviously them 2 screws drop over those Allen headed bolts, and then tighten up with an Allen key. So I will do that right now. Right, the fence is now on and should be locked in the 90-degree position, but as you will see there, it is not 90 degrees, but you do have these 2 adjusters here where you can obviously set both ends of the fence at 90, so you need to check it at this end and again at that end. So I will do that for you right now. There is also a sliding gauge of angles showing you there, and that obviously has some adjustment which you can set accurately. Once you've checked your angle on a piece of wood, you can obviously adjust this a few degrees. Right, let us get this set up at 90. Right, there was a couple other things that came with it. Obviously a push stick. All of these machines generally come with a push stick. And I think that did actually have a place to store it or something, I don't know. No, maybe that's for the table. Oh no, there it is, right on the back there. Anyway, so push stick. The other thing that was with it is this. And if you didn't have instructions with yours, then you might wonder what the hell it is. Well, I think it's for a blade. It's a blade setting guide. Let's see if I can turn that cutter up without chopping my fingers off. And I think you're supposed to set that radius over there or something to set your blade depth. But if you know anything about woodwork, you will know how to set up cutters on a planer, whether it be one like this, an overhand, or a electric planer. You'll know how to set the cutters up, but I will briefly cover that towards the end of the video for those of you that get bored. Now, one of the complaints I've seen from lots of people with these low-end planers, whether it's just a jointer or a planer thicknesser, is the squareness of the fence. Now, I have got that fairly square, but both there and there, it's not too bad at all. But with this being a bit of pressed steel and not extruded aluminium, it does kind of, if you look down it, it's got kind of gaps behind it. So I think you might be better off actually putting a bit of birch ply on that or something. And I think probably, you know, you want to check this square every time you use it. Obviously I have a little engineer's square. Because to change from overhand planing to thicknessing, you have to remove this fence. And what I'm saying is, you know, when you switch between the two, it'd be an idea to just check that you're square again before you try squaring something up on the overhand. Right, so now let's have a look at the dust extractor part. Right, as with all these planer thicknessers, they have a little micro switch built into this dust collecting scoop. those. These are at the back or the front, I believe. This one's on the front. So basically what that means is the machine will not turn on unless you've got this attached. So on mine, I've done it a few times, wondering why the hell the thing wouldn't work, and it's because I hadn't actually located that thing in properly and operated the micro switch. So let's put that on now, and we'll have a look. Right, like I said earlier, I don't recommend you using a shop vac because I think the bore of the pipe is too small. Better off having an extractor, and then you won't get blocked up. That then goes onto the port there, which it will fit if I give it a shove in a second, and we'll try and run a bit of timber over it. Right, so before I plane this bit of Iroko, I did just investigate this little screw, and I think it's just a transit screw, a bit like them legs holding the table up. Anyway, so I think that's all that is. And I will now give you the warning. I might mute it in the actual edit. Right, let's plane this bit of Iroko up. Well, as you saw, it did seem to throw a rather load of shite out the back with the extractor going. Anyway, it is what it is. Like I said, 145 quid. There may be a solution. These cheap machines, I think I mentioned, they need a bit of fettling. I've noticed that there's a lot of slack on this, the sliding lead table. Which could be sorted underneath by shimming the. You can see the travel there. It's got way too much travel before it moves the bed. That should be literally moving the bed. But yeah, they need a bit of fettling if you want them to work a bit better, more professionally. But yeah, I'm not complaining for 145 quid. And hopefully you saw how that bit of Iroko, which is not a particularly nice wood to plane up, turned out. Planed it up nice enough. That was a 1mm cut. Right, so we're now on to do some thicknessing. Obviously move your guard back out the way, take the dust collector box from underneath there and put it on top, and obviously make sure you locate that lock with the micro switch. That one doesn't seem to have gone right in for some reason, but that doesn't matter too much because that's not got the micro switch. Why isn't that going in? Anyway, I'll have a look at that. Yeah, so we're gonna run this table up and put that bit of Iroko back through, thicknessing it. Well, there's definitely a lot of fettling to do with this machine. As you saw on the tail end there, the cutters have taken out a scoop at the end, which means the rollers are not in line with the cutters. But the more concerning thing for me was actually this. Now, if I measure that, that is 38mm, but the pointer says 32, so some major fettling to go on. Whether I can actually get this label off of here and reposition it, yeah, that's definitely a bit of a pain in the backside, that one. yeah, like I said earlier, you do get what you pay for. Mine was a mil or two out, and I did have to adjust mine, but I just adjusted the pointer. But I think that needs more than a pointer adjustment for that. And this is caused by the cutters not being in line with the rollers, which I will get on to as a last point in a second. Well, I think it's just a couple things to cover in closing. I did put the square on that, and it wasn't too bad at all on that bit of Iroko. Another thing I wanted to mention was how I was trained as an apprentice. For those who didn't know, yes, I'm a professional woodworker. To set up blades is you just put a flat piece of timber on your tail bed, and then you just spin the cutter, and as you'll see, it moves that piece of wood. Now you do that both sides. I'll just do it there so you can see it. And I was trained to mark with a pencil before you move the cutter. So mark with a pencil there, and then roll your cutter, see how much it travels, and then mark it again there. And ideally you want them two lines to be as close as possible, so that that cutter is in line with your receiving bed, not your feed bed. So that's obviously your 2 mil you're taking off. So when you feed that through, the end of that piece of timber wants to be exactly in line with that, so then you don't get the runoff that you saw on that piece of Iroko. So this blade is slightly out. As you can see, it's lifting the timber up a bit, and really it doesn't want to move it at all to be perfectly in line with the receiving bed. A bit of technical chat for you there, but yeah, I wouldn't use that gauge that they provide with it. I would just set it up this manner, which is how I was taught, and it's always worked fine for me on electric planers, you know, the handheld ones. Now, you know, in closing, it is what it is. It's a cheap machine. You know, you can't expect a lot, you know, for a very cheap machine. But it has got little issues that can be resolved if you want it to operate a bit finer. Like I said, clearly the measurement thing's a massive issue, and the slack on this feed table is something I could address as well. Not overly worried about that one, but the thickness height being wrong is definitely something I'm going to look at before I even put this back in the box and put it away in another shed, because I don't want to go using it trying to plane a bit down. Luckily the measurements are the wrong way, so it's not going to plane it to less than you want. It was, what was it, like 5 mil more or something crazy. They obviously stuck the marker on in the wrong place, but you can probably buy a sticky one of these to replace it with. Anyway, well, that's kind of rounded up the video. I think nothing more to add. Thank you all for watching. Hope it was helpful. Bye. Well, there you go, a little bonus clip for you. I just took that sticker off and repositioned it. So that's set at 35. Wow, it's a tad over 35 mil. And let's have a look at the bit of Iroko that I just put through, and it is 35 mil. So yeah, just take the sticker off and reposition it. Solved. That's one problem solved.